Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'm going to be playing my very first Premier Draft of Dominaria United Alchemy. This is going to be the regular Dominaria United Premier Draft format, but with one Alchemy card in every booster pack. So, kind of to spice things up, it's not going to be an Alchemy rebalanced draft format like they did with Alchemy Horizons, and they're going to be doing that with Streets of New Capenna next week, I think. So that should be interesting. This is just when they start putting some of the brand new Alchemy cards in the packs for players that want to build up their Alchemy collection through drafting, and for drafters who want to play around with just some random nonsense like the Diminished Returner here. I don't think it's the best card in this pack, but I do want to play with as many Alchemy cards as I can for my first draft in the format, so I am going to take it. This is a 3-mana 4/3 that enters the battlefield tapped. That's not horrible already. And for 2 mana, you can perpetually give it -1/-1 and return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can do that 2 times, because you can only do it if its toughness is 2 or greater. So being able to do it twice is actually kind of spicy. Maybe that was the best card there. But I do really like the Phyrexian Missionary we had in the last pack, and I spent a lot of time reading Diminished Returner, so I didn't really see anything else. But there was probably something else spicy, not just Phyrexian Missionary. So no Alchemy cards in this pack, so we can take the nice Bomb Rare. Drag to the bottom is a very nice board wipe effect in a format that has dual lands with basic land types at common. It's pretty easy to get this domain count quite high to be able to kill pretty much everything on the board. And it's a nice synergy with the Diminished Returner, because if we have it on board, we're still not really losing a full card if that happens to die in the board wipe, since it can keep coming back from the graveyard. Pick 3 now. No Alchemy cards here as well. Looks like everybody wants to try out some of the Alchemy cards in their drafts. So unfortunately, we might just be getting like 1 or 2 per pack, but we'll see. But here we do have a really nice card to keep going down the black direction here with this Phyrexian Rager. One of the best black commons, just a really nice value play. Putting that 2/2 on board and drawing a card. It's one of the best cards in this pack. I think the best card is Wrath, but that's going to be very difficult in a deck with 2 double black spells. We could try to go down the Esper path, white, blue, and black, but feels a little unnecessarily risky when I can just take the perfectly safe Phyrexian Rager that's 100% going in the deck. And we did get another Alchemy card now passed to us, Teferi's Contingency. I can see why this one is still in the pack. This one's not very good and limited. It's kind of a harder to cast cancel. A white and 2 blue to counter a spell, and then each card with the same name in its controller's graveyard, hand, and library perpetually costs 2 more to cast. So this is much more of a constructed plant, because in limited there's not often going to be decks that are running more than 2 or 3 of something. So it's kind of just a harder to cast cancel. I can see why that's still in there, and it's hard for us to cast here as we're just in black right now. I think I'd rather just take like a Lightning Strike, very efficient little red burn spell here. Nice removal spell. But yeah, I guess I said I wanted to take every Alchemy card that I could, but that one's not that exciting and very off color. There's a Zur here if we want to get spicy and try to play a bunch of non-aura enchantments, but there's really not a lot in this set. And we're looking towards black primarily, with maybe red, which puts us in a different direction than Zur. I think I can just take Eerie Soul Tender here and play it safe still. There's just not a lot of enchantments that work with Zur. Technically, like the Sagas work fine with Zur, but not super great. Yeah, best cards in the pack are the Soul Tender, the Impulse has been great in blue, and maybe like a Magnagoth Sentry. Okay, pick 6. Urborg Repossession's been a really nice card in slower decks in this format. So I like that card a lot. Really big way to get back into the game. It's like Soul Salvage from original Dominaria. 3 mana, get 2 creatures back from your graveyard to your hand. And this one's even more flexible, because you're gaining 2 life while you're casting it. You don't have to spend the full 3. You could just get 1 card back from grave. And it doesn't necessarily just grab 2 creatures. It could grab a creature and maybe a Saga that was good that already popped off, since it can pick up any permanent. So I like Urborg Repossession a lot. I'm going to take it there over the dual lands that were legitimately potential options. What is this? 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer is already just like, that's fine. If you kick it, you seek a dragon card. So if I open any dragon and draft it, I can seek it off this card guaranteed. Because if I only have one dragon in my deck, then the one card that will get seeked is that one dragon. Alright. I mean, sure. Probably supposed to take Writhing Necromass here. We do have an Eerie Soul Tender to make that card work well, but we're taking the Alchemy cards. That seems like a fun one if we can get any dragons whatsoever. That'll be a little difficult to do, but hey, we'll work for it. Bloodsprout Talisman. It is a mana rock, basically. 2 mana for an artifact that enters tapped. From that point on, you can tap it and pay a life to choose a non-land card in your hand and make it cost 1 less to cast. It's like a really bad Mind Stone, mostly. I don't know if that's worth it, but we're passing up a Gaia's Might into Ridgeline. Ridgeline's probably the best pick. But I'm going to take the Alchemy card. Maybe we get to play around with it and really try it out. Here, I'll take a Haunted Mire here to help get that splash in, maybe. Shadow Prophecy is a pretty nice card draw spell if you've got a high domain count in your black decks. So that's another option. An Automatic Librarian is good since it fits into anything. Let's start getting some duels. Magnagoth Sentry seems fine here. If we end up in green, 4 mana 4/4 reach is just a solid stat line, a good blocker in the format. And Slimefoot Survey always feels a little too slow for me, 5 mana to pull out some lands. You are really reaching your domain with that card, but you're not impacting the board in any way, not getting any blockers or shutting off any attacks. These cards are all not very good in my opinion. We could take the combat trick here, I suppose. Not in love with any of these either. Well, we can take Monstrosity, I guess, if we're playing Bloodsprout Talisman. Try to take a bunch of very high mana cost cards to utilize the Talisman to the best of our ability. Alright, we've opened up Nyambi, Beloved Protector, which is in the only 2 colors we're not playing. How good is she, though? 2 mana for a 2/2 flash. When she enters the battlefield, choose a non-legendary card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, return it to the battlefield, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability, draw a card once per turn. That is really good in the right position. We'd have to go full domain to get that in here, though, which might be hard. I mean, which will definitely be hard right now. We don't have any mana fixing. We have 1 Haunted Mire, and that's it. No Sprouting Goblin style mana fixing, no Scout the Wilderness or Salvage Mana Worker style mana fixing in the deck yet. Really cool card, but really difficult splash. I'm going to take Sprouting Goblin here. This is a card that for 1, a red and a green, lets us pull out any land with a basic land type from our deck and put it into our hand. So this can help us pull out dual lands to help support the random off-color alchemy cards that we're taking. So I think this should be pretty important to let us play as many of the alchemy cards that we scoop up as possible, such as the Dairy Gaz's Whelp here, which I am going to scoop up. If I were strictly trying to win, Lightning Strike and Night of Dusk's Shadow are both incredibly powerful options, but my first draft with the alchemy cards in the format, let's draft as many of them as we can. Whenever you crew a vehicle, the vehicle gets +1/+0. I don't know if that's worth a splash. There are not a lot of vehicles in this set. So it's a 3 mana 3/2 flyer. That's definitely not worth a splash. Probably take the Molten Tributary to have more options of colors that we can pull out off of Sprouting Goblin, and more lands for domain, or the Myria's Outrider is an incredible card for this kind of deck. Urborg Repossession also great. This is a really good pack. Tributary, Repossession, Outrider, and Night of Dusk's Shadow. I'm going to make sure I get my domain count up there and help with the mana fixing here. Be able to play any colors. No alchemy cards here. The rare is pretty unplayable. You just polymorph 6 things. 6 things get flipped at random into something else. Not the most playable thing. It could be fun though, if we want to go strictly fun based here. But I kind of think I just want like a big old Elfhame Worm or something for more cards to reduce the cost of with the Bloodsprout Talisman. Get as much value off that card as possible. Is Hurler Cyclops better than Elfhame Worm? Sometimes, but probably not in this deck. We don't have any tokens or anything. A lot of individually big creatures. Alright, no alchemy cards again. We've got a Tangled Islet. We've got a Balduvian Atrocity. This can be really good value if you can return a Phyrexian Rager from your grave to the battlefield. But we do have good reasons to take domain cards with Drag to the Bottom and Sprouting Goblin. Both good reasons to take the Tangled Islet here, potentially. Also Writhing Necromass, which works well with the Eerie Soul Tender. Be nice. I think I'm just going to take more domain lands. That seems fine to me. Crystal Grotto, let's just scry one and then have whatever color we need. It does make us play our cards off color, so I don't like, or off curve, we have to wait a turn late. So if we have a 5 mana white card and no white source, we don't get to play it till turn 6. So I'm not like a super massive fan of it. I wouldn't run like 2 or 3 copies of it, but running 1 in most of your decks is fine, and I think that's what we'll do here. Run a 1 of Crystal Grotto. Another Eerie Soul Tender could be good if we wheel any of the Writhing Necromasses. It's also a good synergy with the Diminished Returner and the Urborg Repossession. That's kind of exciting. Is that more exciting than the Geothermal Bog? The fact that the Bog is completely on color is pretty good for us. Yeah, sorry, Eerie Soul Tender. Bog is just too good a mana fixing here. Got a Warhorse, and that's about it. That or a Combat Trick or mediocre creature. Here's a Scout the Wilderness and a Mana Worker for different color fixers, but we're still in pure Jund. We have multiple blue sources that we can pull out off of the Sprouting Goblin, and we have a Crystal Grotto for any color, so I think I can take this Garna here for just the Jund core of the deck. Solid big creature here. Gives you some value if your creatures are dying in combat. Now I'll take another Eerie Soul Tender. I think we've got some good uses for that with Repossession and Diminished Returner. And they work well in duplicates as well, where if one of them mills the other one, then you've got Graveyard Recursion right there. Alright, these Warhorses are a little awkward without the white source, so they'll probably get cut, but slightly less likely than these other cards getting cut. Those are all pretty much guaranteed to get cut out of the deck. Branch Rider, since we are in red-green, could be a 4 mana 3/3, so not completely unplayable, but still not particularly exciting. And let's see what we open up in pack 3. We did open up a rare Alchemy card here, and it's green-black, so let's go. 4 mana for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, return a card from your graveyard to your hand. If this spell was kicked, conjure a duplicate of target card in an opponent's graveyard into your hand, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast this spell. Oh my god. 4 mana for a 3/2 that returns a card from your grave to hand no matter what. And if you have the black source, it's 5 mana for a 3/2 that draws a card out of your graveyard and your opponent's graveyard, and you choose each target. So it's the best card out of each graveyard. That seems nuts. Really cool card to open up there. We get past a Llanowar Green Widow, which we'll absolutely scoop up. Slam Dunk rare here. Works really well with our Eerie Soul Tenders that self-mill us, because this can come back from the graveyard. And it just works well with all these domain lands that we've taken. Perfect card to get past here. There's also Tachiova, which is a huge win condition. Is Tachiova actually stronger than Green Widow? She wins the game really, really quickly. She might actually be... Oh, so sad to open these in the same pack. They're both incredible. I think I'm actually going to go Tachiova here. We have the 2 blue duels and the Goblin to pull out the island, and the main color of double green is pretty easy to do. She's basically a 7 mana card, but at that point, every land drop you play just being a 3/3 beat stick in the sky is ridiculous. That was an excellent pack we just got past there. Another excellent pack, we get a Wandering Treefolk here. 2 mana for a 2/3 Vigilance, already above rate, and for 7 mana, you get to seek a creature card, so draw a random creature card from your deck. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each basic land type among lands you control, so great domain payoff as well. You get to start using that ability for 4 mana in our deck. We don't have any planes, but we might be able to get 4 different land types. to reduce that down to a green and 3. Okay, another alchemy card. This one's pretty unplayable though. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, conjure a duplicate of it into your hand. So if you pay red-blue the next time you cast an instant or sorcery, you draw a copy of it. It just feels like a worse version of all of those cards that just straight up cast a duplicate the second you cast the spell. Weird design there. I'm sure it's got some spicy combo synergies you can do and stuff like that, but I don't think it's good in limited. We'll just take a Phyrexian Rager. I could take a Dragon Whelp so that I can whelp Darrygaz's Whelp into Darrygaz's Whelp into Dragon Whelp, but Phyrexian Rager is just too good. Now we can take a Hurloon Battle Hymn for pretty efficient removal, 3 mana for 4 to a creature Planeswalker, and we actually have a Crystal Grotto to maybe kick that and gain some life. Probably won't happen often, but maybe. Okay, we don't have any Planeswalkers to run the Planeswalker saga here, so that's not going to happen. We can take a Flowstone Infusion as a little combat trick or cheap removal, or we could take the Battle Rage Blessing. Probably cutting down on red, doing a kind of green-black core to the deck. So I kind of think I take the black combat trick over the red. I like the red one a little better, but mana-wise I think it makes more sense. Nothing I'm super into in this pack. Gibbering Barricade is fine. It's a high toughness card there. Whenever one of your creatures is going to die at a later time, if you have the mana up, you can sack it to gain a life, draw a card. I'm not super into Branch Ride. I'm not going to main deck Broken Wings, and I already have one Battle Rage Blessing. So I'll take a Barricade there. I do think Writhing Necromancer is very good in this deck, because we have double Soul Tender now. So I am going to take that. It also works well with the Bloodsprout Talisman if we play that. A little sad to pass up a Sunlit Marsh, but luckily we don't have any white cards, so it would just be to get our planes for a potential full domain going on, but that's not that necessary. Mirror's Outrider seems wonderful here. Yep, great card, because you're getting a solid-sized body there to trade off into big threats from your opponent, while also just pinging your opponent for a ton of damage when you play it, so really good to recur it with Urborg Repossession and the Soul Tenders and cards like that. Shadow Prophecy is pretty great card draw, and because we're really a green-black core, we don't need specific colors of mana all that often, so I don't think we need Scout the Wilderness in here. I think I'll take the Shadow Prophecy. Definitely the Geothermal Bog here, although Floriferous Vinewall's nice too. Actually kind of a difficult choice. But I think I go Bog, that might be wrong. But those both fill the exact same purpose, just being really good mana fixing for us. And Gaia's Might's pretty efficient trick for this kind of deck. So we may actually run that card. Alright, we gotta cut 11 cards out of this deck. I think we're primarily trying to cut down on red to make the mana base really simple for us. So red becomes a splash, red and blue are splashed, so primarily Golgari, just green-black here with a blue-red splash. So the double red on Garna is kind of hard to hit, so we can cut that, and then we cut the Monstrosities and the Branch Rider, the more filler red cards. That puts us down to 47 cards in the deck. We have 4 2-drop creatures, although Darrygaz's Whelp I'd ideally be kicking. Because these just tutor for each other. So even with no other dragon in the deck, this actually seems pretty spicy. Right, this is basically a 4-mana 3/2 flyer that puts another 4-mana... Actually, no, it's a 4-mana 3/2 flyer that puts a 2-mana 3/2 flyer into our hand. Yeah, that's kind of sick. Even with no other dragons, just having 2 copies of this does work out. Because when you seek that dragon card, the Whelp and the dragon you seek to get +1/+1 perpetually. So yeah, 4-mana 3/2 flyer plus a 2-mana 3/2 flyer to hand. That's pretty good. But yeah, that means we are really low on 2-drops, so maybe Snare Spinner comes in just to block. Because we also have the Sprouting Goblin we don't really want to play till turn 3, plus red is a splash color, so we're not guaranteed to have a red source on turn 2. like we are with green and black. I don't love these war horses. The only white source we have in the deck is the Crystal Grotto, so it doesn't seem great. We can cut that probably just right now. Our creature count is at 18. 15 to 17 kind of the average, so we're a bit high there. Don't think this is the kind of deck that wants a super high creature count outside of Writhing Necromass. I think cutting down to like 15 creatures would be fine. Barricade. Some hard choices here. I guess Elfame Worm. Barricade make the most sense to cut. These four are potential cuts. Talisman's looking pretty bad. Pay 1 life, choose an online card in your hand. It costs 1 less to cast perpetually. So we play this on turn 2. On turn 3, I can tap it and make the Whelp or Sentry cost less and cast it for only 3. Then on turn 5, I make Outrider cost less and cast that. Or on turn 4, I make Outrider cost less and cast it for only 4 mana. And it's cool, but I just don't think it's that good, especially because you're paying life to do it as well. There's just an additional cost for like not much reason. I think we've got some good tricks between Gaia's Might and Battle Rage Blessing. We probably don't need the double Colossal Growth. So I'm going to cut the Colossal Growth, the Blood Sprout Talisman, and then a combination of 2 of these creatures. I think I'm going to go with the big ones. I want to make sure I have some cheap blockers against more aggressive strategies. Snare Spinner is not an exciting card. You're never like super happy to have it end up in the deck. But if you need early game blockers, it does the job. A 2 mana 1/3 blocks soldier tokens from white decks all day long. It blocks most of the blue flyer as well by getting that additional power. It's fine filler. And I think we'll put it in the deck, and this is going to be the deck. Let's make sure that our mana base is good here. We have 12 black cards, 7 green, 4 red, and 1 blue. Okay, we definitely need more black sources than anything else. And we're sitting at 7 of those, which is solid. I do have 2 cards that require double black mana. So 7 black sources. Crystal Grotto can help get that second black. So that might not be the end of the world. 3 blue sources in Grotto. That feels pretty great for Tachova, because we don't even need the blue source for her until turn 7. Don't need it until we have 6 lands on board and a 7th in hand to play. We're looking on red. 4 red sources and Crystal Grotto. Most of our red cards can wait, right? Like removal spells we can wait till later in the game if we need them. Outrider definitely can wait till late game. Sprouting Goblin's the only card that's kind of awkward to not be able to cast it early game. But yeah, I think 4 might be enough. And then on green, got 7 green sources as well. Seems pretty good to me. Yeah, this mana base actually seems pretty fine, the way that Arena's set it up. We have equal amounts of green and black, which is a little weird. We probably could cut 1 green source for a black source. But we do have 2 very powerful double green cards. At the same time, 1 really powerful double black card and another one that's pretty good. Plus we need that green mana early game. All of our 2 mana cards are green. Yeah, I think I'm cool with the 7/7. I don't really want to cut down to 6 green sources just to get an 8th black source in the deck. I think this is gonna be the deck. Alright, here we have a look at the completed deck. This is going to be our first Dominaria United Alchemy draft deck, and it looks like a pretty fun one. We're kind of a Golgari deck splashing in some red and some blue, or if you want to look at it that way, we're Jund with a Tachova. The 1 blue card that we're playing, just a busted win condition at uncommon. So most of what we're doing here is playing a bunch of decent value plays throughout the mid-game with Phyrexian Ragers, Eerie Soul Tenders filling our grave to recur cards with their graveyard ability, and the Urborg repossession here. It's a bunch of mid-game, just value plays, trying to draw into cards, making sure that we are staying in the game there. Sprouting Goblin as well, a great one. And then our late game win conditions are primarily Tachiova, Miria's Outrider with the ability to recast it a few times. We've got the big Wrath off of the drag to the bottom that can put the board state very much in our position. Other than that, we're just trying to win a grindy game by playing more cards than our opponents, by drawing more cards than our opponent, or recasting more cards than our opponent. A lot of 2-for-1s here. Urborg Repossession, putting 2 cards in our hand from our graveyard at the cost of 1 card. Shadow Prophecy, putting 2 cards in our hand out of our deck at the cost of 1 card. The Nantuko Slicer from Alchemy is really sweet. This is a 4-mana 3/2. If we kick it for a black, it's a 5-mana 3/2. So we're getting a 3/2 on the board. We're getting a card from our graveyard back to our hand. And if we kicked it, we're getting a card from our opponent's graveyard back into our hand. So it's a 3-for-1. We get a 3/2 on the board and we draw 2 cards. So another huge value play there. Darrygaz's Whelp is another one. With this card, if we kick the first copy on turn 4, we're spending 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer that tutors out an additional 2 mana 3/2 flyer to our hand to cast as well. We also have Wandering Treefolk for a mana sink ability that just keeps drawing us cards. So that's the name of the game here. We're just going to grind out a long game by attempting to draw more cards than our opponents, and by virtue of that, cast more spells than our opponents. So we'll see how it goes here as we head into gameplay of the first Dominaria United Alchemy Premier Draft. Here we are in game 1. We have a Wandering Treefolk and a Snare Spinner that are castable. We do have 7 black sources in the deck to help try to get to this Whelp. I think because we can sit behind multiple 3 toughness 2 mana creatures, I am going to keep this hand, although there is a pretty big risk here. So there is some amount of greed, but we've got multiple guaranteed plays. Our opponent is definitely not as greedy as me, or they are far less lucky as they take 2 mulligans here. So either they got really, really unlucky hands, or they wanted to mulligan their hand that looks kind of like this. And I believe they're on the play as well, so they're going to have a 5-card start on the play. We did immediately hit the black source, which is beautiful for us. And that solves most of the problems in this hand. We do still need to hit another land to cast this Darrygaz's Whelp. And we're against defenders. One of the more boring gameplay. I don't know. One of the more annoying decks in the format. It is the strongest archetype in the format if you can get the Wingmantle Chaplain, and it's one of the most annoying ones to play against because it involves just jamming creatures into a gigantic wall of 1/4s on your opponent's board, so the games can get really grindy, and you're basically just sitting there trying desperately to find ways to damage your opponents while they mill you out with Coral Colony or start producing too many birds for you to deal with the Wingmantle Chaplain. Alright, luckily we get to kill this Coral Colony here. I shouldn't have played my land pre-combat. I could have cast Gaia's Might and Snare Spinner here. That would have been a really good use of my mana. I think because I didn't, so I can't cast anything after this anyway, I want a Battle Rage Blasting instead. Because it's more expensive, so in the future now I can use a combat trick to kill something for only 1 mana. So it's easier to hold up 1 mana than it is to hold up 2 mana. And while Battle Rage Blessing does give Death Touch indestructible, so we know 100% for sure that card can kill anything, it's going to be pretty hard for Gaia's Might not to make our creatures big enough to kill whatever our opponent blocks with. Because it's already at +3/+3, and our opponent's played some pretty small creatures so far. So, can't imagine Gaia's Might not being enough to do the same thing Battle Rage Blessing does for us. Actually no, I think I don't want to play Outrider this turn. Play Whelp. Unkicked. And then Snare Spinner, hold up Gaia's Might. Just keep shredding in the sky. We have 6 power flyers now. This Darrygaz's Whelp, getting duplicates is really, really nice. Getting 2 of those Whelps in the draft was a pretty sweet place to be. Okay. This Treefolk's ability costs 4 mana. So I can do that and still hold up Gaia's Might if I don't want to play Outrider yet. Outrider just gets blocked by the Academy wall anyway, so I can Seek at instant speed with that too. So I can just hold up Gaia's Might, Seek with Tree Folk during their end step, and we're just saving the Miria's Outrider to do the final 4 damage when we need it. And opponent's just going to scoop it up. The double Darigaz as well. Too much to deal with, so that card playing really well there. Again, 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer and draw a 2 mana 3/2 flyer into your hand. Pretty excellent deal. On the play here, this time we don't have green mana. What we do have is 3 basic land types and a Shadow Prophecy if I can draw 1 land in the early game. Another greedy keep here, because if I do miss on my land drops 3 turns in a row, I will be pretty hard punished. But if I can just win one of those coin flips and find a land in the top 3 will be pretty good. I guess because I'm on the play, it's got to be in the top 2 because I don't draw a card turn 1. So if I lose 2 coin flips, I'm in a really bad position. So it is a risky hand. It is a greedy one. But the odds are still a little in my favor that I hit the 3rd land by turn 3. It's like 75%. Because I'm already at 45% chance of land this draw step. So it's basically 2 50-50s. So if I fail both 50-50s, then I don't hit land on turn 3. So I guess 45% chance of land, that's not quite 50%. So it's more like, instead of 75% chance of hitting land by turn 3, it's more like 68 or something like that probably. I am not into the maths. I just kind of guesstimate it. I just eyeball it. Like, that sounds around where it is. But yeah, if I can, the main thing is if I hit the 3rd land, I'm going to be fine. Because I'm Shadow Prophecying 3 cards deeper looking for more lands. Then I'm Phyrexian Ragering for another additional card looking for more lands. So that's where we're at here. That's our plan. Our opponent is in the think tank, or their arena may have disconnected, or their internet disconnected, or they're grabbing a drink or a snack or something. Who knows? Alright, our round 2 opponent just did not show up, so we're just going to start the draft off 2-0. Game 3 now, no green source again, but we know that we can whelp on turn 4 if I hit any land, which is pretty sweet. And the only thing that not having a green source keeps us from is Snare Spinner, which is not that exciting. So we're going to keep this one and see where it takes us. Now we have a Soul Tender to play turn 3, which is great because we didn't have a turn 3 play before. What is this? A 1 mana 2/1 that also enlists, and whenever it enlists a creature, the next creature you cast comes with a +1/+1 counter. Good gravy. Alright, that's a really big deal. Just make every creature they play come with a +1/+1 counter now, and they start attacking with that as a 4/1 because of the Herbalist alongside it. Can't afford... Oh, I can afford Battle Hymn if I play an untapped land this turn. It might be worth it to just kill this thing. Otherwise, like, all their creatures are coming with a +1/+1 counter. This thing's nuts. It's really rough to have to spend removal on the 1-drop. I guess I could play Soul Tender instead and just try to trade with it, but then their next creature is coming with a counter, but then I can Battle Hymn the next creature. Let's see. I'm going to keep that on top. I'd like to mill that with the Soul Tender. I'm going to attempt to block and trade for this Banalish Knight Counselor. I was going to say Banalish Knight Commander, but it's a Knight Counselor. They have green as well, which means they can have some really cheap combat tricks. There's a good amount in red and white, but now that they have red, white, and green, that's like all 3 of the great combat trick colors in the set. Luckily, no combat trick. We do get to get that thing off the board immediately, but now the Neshoba Brawler is a 4/4 thanks to that +1/+1 counter. Well, that is our target for our Herloon Battle Hymn. I think I have to just shoot it right now. I can't kick it because I would need 2 more lands because I need 5 mana total because I need to spend 1 to get a white mana. So we just cast it unkicked and then play our tapped land this turn. Uh-oh, is this Take Up the Shield as well? Okay, no. Let's say if they had Take Up the Shield, I would have expected them to use it to save the 2-1. But maybe they were playing it pretty safe to protect the Brawler. Luckily for us, they did not have Take Up the Shield. That is the 2 mana instant that puts a +1/+1 counter on the creature and gives it indestructible. They're down to just an Herbalist now, which is still setting up their draws, so it's still doing powerful things. Cast a tapped Returner and a 1/3. 1/3 stops the 2/1. I think that seems solid to me. I can't do that, because I need the black source from the Haunted Mire, which means I won't have a green source. So I can only cast 1 spell this turn no matter what then, which means I think I just cast the Whelp if I can only cast 1 spell. Yeah, I think we cast the Whelp for now and kick it. This way we're less likely to just top deck the Whelp later and be in a bad spot. Plus now we have another 2 mana card to cast, which will make it easier to cast 2 spells next turn. Alright, Herbalist still putting in work, getting some good scries for our opponent. And Rith Liberated Primeval is the play. That's pretty devastating. If a creature Planeswalker was dealt excess damage, they get an extra 4/4 dragon token with flying. I don't even know what we do here. We kind of just die here. But we do. I've got nothing to compete with that. I can try to double block it, and then if they have any tricks, they're going to win the game handedly. But it's our best bet, because it's kind of our only bet. I guess it's safest to just cast everything that can block it. Pass. Kind of wanted to play Returner Snare Spinner, because if they don't use any removal here, I'm going to double block with Whelp Snare Spinner. But this way, even if they use removal, I can still double block Rith. No attacks, alright. That almost definitely means no instant speed removal or combat tricks yet for our opponent, which is excellent. They did have a Gaia's Might. That'd be +3/+3. We'd have 9 toughness. Okay, so yeah. They didn't want to let Rith die to Gaia's Might. Now we've got Lightning Strike, but opponent's getting 4/4 flyers now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave now. That's an additional 4/4 flyer for our opponent. Rith is one of the cards I've lost to the most in this format. I just don't know how you're supposed to beat that card without immediate removal. That kills it. Otherwise, your opponent just starts stacking 4/4 dragons up so quickly. It's gonna be 2-1 now. I guess that's similar to like Tachiyova. But Tachiova's a lot easier to kill because there's like Lightning Strike can kill it, Heirloom Battle Hymn can kill it. These are cards that cannot kill Derrigaz, or whatever that one was called. Alright, here we go. We are in game 4 now. We have a turn 2 Treefolk of the Wandering variety. Turn 3 Phyrexian Rager if I can draw an untapped land. I think I do want to play the 2 mana 2/3, especially against a Wrath. so I can start blocking immediately. Untapped land, let's go. That is a tapped land and it's redundant, so I'm going to throw that on the bottom. Those are not colors that I'm missing right now. Alright, pass turn. We did hit the untapped land, so we can play Rager this turn, or I could get ready to cast Magnagoth Sentry next turn. I think I'd rather just immediately be drawing cards. Well, I could just play Snare Spinner this turn, I guess. I mean, that's pretty fine. I already have a good curve. I don't need extra cards off Rager to cast more spells here. Treefolk's getting pretty close to usable here. We have 3 land types already. There's the 4th one off Bog or the Mountain. Let's get the 4th land type so I can start using Treefolk. Honestly, the best bet here might be to just massively outvalue my opponent and just spend all of this time, just play it really slow, and just start digging like every creature out of my deck here. What on earth is this thing? They get to cast their own copy of the Wandering Treefolk, and they're putting it back into our hand. At least it's not dead, but this 100% means our opponent has Essence Scatter in hand. Not 100%, but very likely means they just have a Scatter or some kind of counterspell to use on it. So, pretty much gonna end up removing the Treefolk. If our opponent doesn't have any forests, that Treefolk's not a massive deal, but it does mean that they'll have 2 creatures on board, so when they do cast their Essence Scatter, they get to draw a card off of it as well, and that will be a really big deal. Uh-oh, they do have a Tingle Violet. Well, that is horribly, horribly bad for us. So we just try to cast the Treefolk. We're not going to be able to bait a counterspell from our opponent when they know we have the Treefolk in hand, so we slam it down and then we cast a Phyrexian Rager this turn. No counterspell, okay. I'm very happy with that. Very happy with that. A little less happy that our opponent gets to start drawing a million cards as well. I am the one who plays value spells. Man, Treefolk's really good in a blue deck too, because they get to hold up counter spells and then just use Treefolk if they don't activate them, or hold up any kind of instant speed removal as well. Treefolk works incredibly well with instants. The fact that this ability is instant speed is pretty nuts. They're just going to pass turn because the ability is instant speed. They didn't have a counterspell last turn. Hopefully they still don't have one, and I can just double Whelp this turn. Don't have 2 black sources to do that. I can still make sure I get the Whelp out of the way, so I don't accidentally seek the other copy off Treefolk or something, which would be pretty bad for me. Yeah, I'll play a Daragai's Whelp and a tap land this turn. This also gives me a threat that actually starts attacking my opponent on this board state. Our opponent has 2 instant speed activated abilities on board, so them holding does not necessarily mean they have a counterspell, and they did not cast a counterspell. Alright, here goes the Treefolk. This is one of the major complaints that I heard about Alchemy as a constructed format. I've never really played it, but one of the things that I've heard is that like just everything is a 2-for-1. Everything's a card draw engine, and just nobody ever runs out of cards because everybody just draws 5,000 at all times. Definitely how it feels with the Wandering Treefolk mirror match. Mirror's Outrider is a spicy draw. I have 2 mana for Whelp and 5 mana for Outrider if I play the island here. Let us see if I can send in the Whelp. I can. That's pretty sweet. Can I drop an additional? I can do that as well. Opponent has a good enough board state. Outrider as a 4/4 isn't going to attack in very well. It will still block decently, so I could still play it here. I feel like I might rather draw more creatures. Do I have any creatures that help? Tachiova does a lot. If I can seek out Tachiova, that'll be beautiful. The only creature that really matters is left in my deck. But I also only have 5 creatures left in the deck, so it's getting pretty likely I can hit her. So I actually don't even know if I want to play lands. We're just on like the tutor for Tachiova plan. And for now we have all of our cards that can actually hit our opponent on board, which are our 2 Darrygaz's Whelp to get over this board state. So we have enough like 4/4s and 5/5s in hand that if instead of using Tree Folk I wanted to just keep jamming out creatures, I would get to start attacking with those eventually. But not immediately. Elas Ilkor. They gain life as they play creatures, and we lose life as their creatures die. It is a menacing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5/5 maximum. They have a trick. This can go pretty poorly for me, but I could triple block here. I think I just take it. And the triple block was actually going to be Whelp, Rager, Snare Spinner, because I really don't want to lose Wandering Tree Folk yet. I guess I could have used Tree Folk before declaring blocks, and if I hit Tachiova, then maybe Tree Folk doesn't matter as much, and I could afford to triple block with Rager, Tree Folk, and Snare Spinner. Diminished Returner, land for turn. Have enough, got multiple extra lands even if I draw into Tachiova now, so I might actually want to play another blocker here for these knights. 4 mana for Tree Folk, 3 mana to cast another spell. I can play Soul Tender or Returner. Returner comes into play tapped, so I think I just play Soul Tender. My chicken strip. I guess I could mill Tachiova here, but then I can repossession or Soul Tender her. Oh my god. Ah, that's hilarious. That's a sick joke, Magic Arena. She was literally the top card. Suppose that is a thing that can happen. Well, I mean, now we have a guaranteed block. And that is Rager Soul Tender onto one of those. The Suvin Mist was so rude. I think we'd be in a really nice position if our opponent didn't have their own mana sink card draw engine, and they wouldn't if they didn't steal one from me. 8 mana, they can make it a 6/6 here. That's 6 power. Well, Auto Tapper stopped them from making it a 6/6. But even being a 3/3, it trades into Soul Tender Rager, which is still good for them. That was a very sus tapping from the Auto Tapper there. Let's spend double black with 2 Knight of Dusk Shadow on board. Alright, Tree Folk. I don't even remember what creatures I have left in the deck. Ooh, the Nantuko Slicer! I completely forgot about that card's existence. That thing is pretty nuts here. Pretty nuts here. That puts a Tachiova into our hand. Oh, if I want to kick it, I have to play my land before I play my Tachiova, which feels pretty bad. And I guess if I kick it, I'm only getting a Knight of Dust Shadow anyway, so I'm actually going to cast it unkicked. Oh, no, I can't. I don't have enough green sources. Because if I need to double green to cast it, right? Which means then I'm casting Tachiova. I can't cast green blue off these lands. I have to play the land first anyway. So if I have to play the land first anyway, I guess I kick the Slicer. Right? Okay, so I'm gonna get a Tachiova for my grave. I could get their Vesuvan Mist. I mean, the Knight's probably better, but the Mist is funnier. Okay. So I need to play a land per turn and a spell here if I don't want to discard. I can't cast Tachiova this turn unless I play untapped land, in which case she could die to removal easily. I think I'm just playing a tapped land and a Snare Spinner. And holding up nothing. Because if I want to hold up this Vesuvan Mist, I guess I could discard Diminished Returner. That's not bad at all, actually. Better to hold up Vesuvan Mist than it is to play Snare Spinner. I mean, unkicked Vesuvan Mist is not super spicy, but could help us get there. Yeah, I'll hold an unkicked Vesuvan Mist. If my opponent tries to win the game by getting a flying blocker or a reach blocker, then the Vesuvan Mist shuts off that opportunity for them to protect themselves. So it just has to be hard removal for these whelps. Otherwise, next turn we just play Tachiova and land and attack for 9 in the sky. If their plan is to just play a reach creature or flyer, we just bounce it with the Vesuvan Mist. We just bounce it. Sphinx of Clear Skies has Ward. We do not just bounce that. Yet. It would be 6 mana to bounce that and kick Mist. Which means I wouldn't play Tachiova this turn. Which means I wouldn't threaten lethal. I think I have to threaten lethal. Which means I play unkicked Vesuvan Mist on the Sphinx, then play Tachiova land and attack for 9 in the sky. Could also go for Miria's Outrider here as the win con. Oh, Shore Up. That's pretty devastating. They get to draw a card off that as well. I guess we're going for a Battle Rage Blessing attack here now. Putting them to 5 life. Chump blocking the Sphinx with Snare Spinner. I could play Tachyova, then play a land, but then I only have 2 mana up. One of which is the land, so I couldn't attack with the land and play Battle Rage Blessing. But then I would get my opponent in lethal reach of Miria's Outrider next turn, because I could hit them for 6 instead of 3. I think I would rather just try to Battle Rage Blessing this Sphinx to death. I guess since I tapped all my red mana, I can't cast Miria's Outrider and kill them this turn. But plan here was always Miria's Outrider next turn. But I guess I should have left myself open to doing that this turn. If my opponent went for like no blocks here. Alright. That all worked pretty cool. We'll play the Snare Spinner and pass, holding this land for Tachyova. They've got 5 cards in their hand to play around with here, but we have a lot of ways to find lethal now. We just need to make sure they're at 4 or less life for Miria's Outrider, finish them off. They're already dead on board if they can't play any blockers or removal spells. We also have a Tachyova to play to make it 9 flying power instead of 6. Should be pretty difficult for them to assemble a collection of cards here that keeps them alive next turn. But we'll see what they have. Urborg Repossession is a big one. That gains 2 life and spits out a 5/5 flyer. That's a really big one. It's incredibly close to enough by itself, but not quite. They're going to need another piece of interaction here. Because now they're going to be at 7 life. They cast the Sphinx of Clear Skies. And then on my turn, I'll play Tachyova, play a land, attack them with 3/3/3 flyers, so 2 get in for 6 damage. And then Miria's Outrider post-combat for lethal. So they need to have this and an Essence Scatter backup. Or a removal spell, main phase. So we'll see. Oh yeah, and another life from Elas Ilkor. So we'll be putting them to 2, which is still definitely within range of Miria's Outrider. Tapped land. 3 mana up here. One of that mana that is up is a blue mana for a potential Essence Scatter. That would get us pretty bad. Take up the shield as well would be huge. Gain a boatload of life here. Take up the shield would probably win them the game. Although I guess I have the Snare Spinners as trump blockers, so Sphinx wouldn't be drawing them any cards anytime soon. That would just make it take quite a lot longer to kill them, and then it would be turn into kind of anyone's game, I feel like, if they had Take Up the Shield. Like right now I feel like we're in the lead, but if they have a Take Up the Shield this turn, it's going to make things pretty even. For 5. Yeah, I'll still have the Outrider mana after this. I guess if they have Essence Scatter, they just use it right now. Okay, so we know they don't have Essence Scatter to stop the Outrider, so it's going to have to be something that interacts during combat. Still have a red source from Bog, so I'll activate the mountain. Okay, take 6. We know they don't have Essence Scatter. You need to cast a spell right now on a Whelp. They do have a Tribute to Urborg to cast on a Whelp, so it's going to take another turn to finish them off now. They're going to draw another card here. Then draw and discard off Academy Wall. Nothing I can use mid-combat here. Yep, we put them to 5, which is still 1 damage off for Outrider. I can Miria's Outrider here to put them to 1, but then they know that they're at 1. They know they need to block absolutely everything. They probably already play around absolutely everything anyway, so I should be mana efficient here. Just play Outrider. Plus this way it could end up in the graveyard for Soul Tender. Yeah. Cast the Outrider. Extinguish the Light Tachiova, that's fair. They gain 3 here though. That part is not super fair. But we do have Soul Tender to bring her back immediately. Soul Tender her back, cast her, play a land. The gain 3 life is pretty massive here. So they are not dead to a single flyer, they'll be at 4 life. And I'll need to hit in with 2. They've got a Battlefly Swarm as well for an additional blocker there. Are really getting back in it. Oracle of the Alpha, shuffle the Power 9 into their deck when there's only 11 cards left. That is disastrous. That is disastrous. My opponent's just going to cast the Power 9 against me now. Repossession's a great draw, but oh my god, we're in a really bad spot now. They have 3 flying blockers. I can repossess this Outrider and Soul Tender this Outrider, so if Outrider dies, that's just good for me, but they already know that, so they're just going to block with the 0/5. We're not going to be on any recasting Outrider nonsense. We can pick up Darrygaz Whelp and Tachiova. Make it quite difficult for our opponent to attack into us at least. And then we just need to get to a point where we have 2 more flyers in them, but they can just top deck Ancestral Recall into Time Walk. The Moxes and the Black Lotus are all pretty bad draws at least. But Time Walk, Ancestral Recall are really bad. It's 2 mana to take an extra turn after this one, 1 mana to draw 3 cards. There's also the Wheel, 3 mana to shuffle their whole graveyard into their deck and draw 7, which is ridiculous at this point. Green, green, blue. Need to tap this one. Oh, wait, I can't. Oh my god, I'm out of ropes. I love arena. I love arena sometimes. Now I have to skip my turn. Oh wait, no, I just have to skip to combat. Okay. Yeah, I can't afford to play Tachiova and the Thingamabob this turn off of the Urborg, but I think I still Urborg them both. Oh, it kept my land tap too? For nothing? Oh my god, arena. I missed the chess clock. Oh my god. It kept the green sources tapped from the pre-combat. I guess arena just decided I lose right now then. Because I took too long to think. I was trying to get our mana to work out where we could pick up Tachiova and Darrygaz's Whelp. Cast Tachiova, play a land, still play Darrygaz's Whelp. Which would be green, black, 1. It would be like this. Green, black, and then the 1 from Grotto. And then we could go green, green, blue there. Oh my god, they have Wingmantle Chaplain. Shield Wall too? Okay. I think I could have won this game if I played tighter, but I'm about ready to scoop now after that last turn. Oracle of the Alpha was a pretty big swing in the other direction, same with the Sphinx of Clear Skies, but skipping a turn to do nothing is extra bad. Now our opponent's back to 12 because they made a million birds with an Elas on board. That's why I really don't like Crystal Grotto. This has messed my mana up so hard multiple times. The fact that it's colorless. So I'm just going to activate that as a land. Need to play more flying blockers. I guess I need to maybe try to recast a Miria's Outrider 3 times. Feels like I'm just going to mill out here, though, at this point. Sphinx of Clear Skies into Oracle of the Alpha into Wingmantle Chaplain. Could cross our fingers that our opponent mills themselves out, but they just shuffled 9 cards back into their deck, and one of those cards shuffles their whole graveyard back, so we just can't win the mill game against Oracle of the Alpha. Because Time Twister shuffles itself back into the library as well, I think. Actually, no, it doesn't. It just doesn't exile itself, so if you play duplicates, they loop forever. Yeah, I don't really have more win conditions at this point. And our opponent has a lot on board. So I don't know what we're doing here. Yeah, I mean, I think the way we win this game is we play it tighter and more aggressive earlier. We had our opponent down to like 1 multiple times. So just a tighter, more aggressive curve at the start wins us this game. Not sure there's any route to victory now. Because they cannot mill out before us. It's straight up impossible. Now I have to recast Outrider like 5 times. 4 times. 3 times hits them for 12. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna sit here another 30 minutes waiting to lose to Time Twister. Punted that one away. Probably a little too late when Arena skipped our turn to matter that much, but I just needed to find more damage earlier there. That was rough. I guess it's kind of the deck that we drafted here, but I'd really like it to get into a game that isn't like 45 minutes long grind, but this is not really the format to get in those kind of games. So snap keep here, we have the Techova to win the game, we have the Rager early on to try to find the green sources. Draw some more cards here. There's the green source immediately, which means we just play Snare Spinner now. So good draw there. Here's Rager. And a Writhing Necromass to our hand. See what tricks they've got here. Furious Bellow, sure. Trade your Furious Bellow for my Snare Spinner. I think that's kind of a good trade for me. Snare Spinner's not been the most impactful card. It feels like a moderate trade up to get rid of this trick. I like a dramatic one. Ooh, Darrygaz's Whelp's a huge draw. Gives us an excellent play this turn. That's a Defiler Vigor. We are probably dying too. Battle Rage Blessing's a start. They're not going to block if I send in here. I can Battle Rage with this other Whelp though. If they don't block. We are heading for 6 in the sky next turn. Actually 9 with Techova alongside. Maybe we're just out racing the Defiler Vigor. It'd be pretty nuts. This card is absurd. Vidalian Tide Mage. Okay. We really need to outrace this because this Vidalian Tide Mage makes it so when their creatures deal damage to me, they get a duplicate in their hand, so they just get a duplicate Defiler Vigor. To cast another Defiler next turn. Great, now their flyer's a 3/3 to trade into whatever I attack with. Can't get through this Pixie Illusionist. Yeah, I mean, I have to just slow them down here. I was tempted to hold on to Battle Rage Blessing so that sending in with all my flyers next turn, I don't have to lose one to the Illusionist. But if I just, like, don't kill this Defiler Vigor, I'm so dead next turn. I'm just, like, trampled over for well over lethal. Wait, what? Whenever one or more other non-token creatures called deal combat damage to player, choose one of those creatures, conjure duplicate into your hand. So the fact that it died during combat meant they couldn't choose it? Oh my god, we might just be there then. If they don't have another Defiler Vigor in hand, I feel pretty safe to find lethal in 2 attacks. Is it more likely that they kill both of my flyers? Or that they kill me? Feels more likely they could find a way to kill me here, and maybe I should play Goblin here. Goblin, if I keep it for next turn, I can kick it, and then I know I have 3/3/3 flyers attacking them, because I know I get an additional one from getting the land off Goblin. But it feels like by far the most likely way that I lose this game is if they find lethal off some kind of combat tricks. So I kind of just want to chump block both attacks here on the ground, rather than guarantee the land drop next turn. Alright, Amplifier only stops one of the flyers, so the other one still kills them unless they have 1 mana removal. And blue-red, we know they don't have like a 1 mana really good trick here, so I can still save Sprouting Goblin as a chump blocker. I guess they get a Rada into their hand, but that one's legendary as well. Okay. Herborg Repossession, nothing in grave kills them. We just attack all here. That way, even if they have +2/-2 to 1 creature, they still die. And that is going to find us the victory there. We are now 3-2. This mana's rough, but I think I still keep it. We have Soul Tender on 3, another black source gives us some very strong cards, and another green source gives us a very strong card. Oh, now we have a Shadow Prophecy. That should be very good. It's a Shadow Prophecy on 3 domain minimum. We've got a Gaia's Might drawn as well. Opponent starts with the Diminished Returner on the play. That's pretty threatening. In terms of damage outputs, I'll trade a Soul Tender into it to slow it down, I think. Lose our Wandering Treefolk. That's pretty sad. That's a pretty good one. They are not going to attack, and they do not want to trade in there. Alright, well, just Drag to the Bottom is looking really nice in the future. I think I'm holding up a Gaia's Might and Shadow Prophecy now. And we're leaning into the Drag to the Bottom. Especially with Nantuko Slicer to return things from Graveyard. We've got a lot of good recursion coming up. I'm going to say that's pretty fine on board. I will just take that trade. Worst case scenario, we get rid of some power and toughness on the returner. Make it a 3/2 now. Is that instant speed? Of course it is. Alchemy cards are absolutely busted. Alright, let's dig 4 cards deep. We get a Miria's Outrider. Routing Goblin's pretty great. Take Sprouting Goblin Miria's Outrider. Alright, drag to the bottom is not looking very good here. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade for their Captain's Call right now. So not quite yet. Plus we don't have the second black source anyway. Probably grabbing the black-green land to make our Nantuko Slicer and drag to the bottom castable. Alright, they bring back the returner, so now if I trade my goblin into the returner, it will come back as below 2 toughness. And then it will not be able to come back again after that. Evolved Sleeper. Okay, we're dragging to the bottom. Alright, they give us a bonus card to drag. So I guess I will. Yep, 100%. Get that off the board. Cast a Snare Spinner now. Keep Techova. And pass the turn. It is really hot in here today. I think somebody turned the AC off. I don't know how all the European viewers without AC survived this summer. I cannot. My AC is just off for the day. It's a bad day. I have to go turn that on after this video. Don't know where to land to play Techova. I could just kick a Slicer here. Not bad at all. Can double kick this if the auto tapper isn't a complete buffoon about it. Oh, I guess I can't. I can. Oh wait, there is no double kick. It's just a 1 kick. But yeah, I can 1-time kick it. Like so. I think I want drag to the bottom. I'm gonna take the Tree Folk and we'll take their Evolved Sleeper. And I can cast their Sleeper this turn because I can use any color of mana. I'm at 12 here. I think I'll chump. Full of the Mist Moon. That's 2 removal spells. Another very busted alchemy card. So it's a Banishing Light, a Bring to Light, whatever you want to call it, that exiles something on board, and then if you kick it, the next card that they play, another non-land permanent in their hand, it gains that ability. So the next card they play is also going to exile one of my cards. Pull of the Mist Moon is absolutely ridiculous, as most of the alchemy cards are. Hold up a Gaia's Might to beat this Necromass. Just Outrider, hold up Gaia's Might. I might exile the Outrider here. We will find out. If their next permanent has Flash, this could be really bad for me. Let's see what they've got. We know they have that ability in their graveyard, so it doesn't necessarily mean they have an instant. Alright, cool. Get the Necromass off the board. And it's Techova time. They get to exile Techova though, so probably more Whelp time. I'll trade Sleeper into their 2-1. Honestly, I don't really need it, and it's painful to draw the cards off of it, and I am very much milling out first. I've got other card draw engines like Tree Folk. Snap trade. Tribute to Urborg, one of the whelps. I wonder what permanent in their hand gets to exile something. They still haven't played it. Because they did kick that. They paid a life to kick it off the Addarkar Wastes. Still don't want to play Tachova till they cast whatever exiles here. I guess I'll let them get rid of this Tree Folk. Juggernaut Peddler. Are you kidding me? I still have no idea what... Did they just not have non-land permanents, but they kicked it anyway? Yeah, that sucks. They've got the hand interaction to just exile our Tachova from hand now instead, which is obviously devastating. But we're playing around the card that we know they have an O-ring in hand, or they kicked Pull of the Mistmoon for literally no reason. But that does suck. At least we get a Juggernaut. Seven mana. No, let's play a Juggernaut and hold up Rage Blessing. I guess they have nothing. I'm just going to scoop them up there. Alright, that was really weird. That was a really, really weird one. But we did play a lot of value spells and we ended up with like 6 cards in hand there, too. So we did the value spell game. It's just a strange game overall, but we are now 4-2, so at least we are getting 1,400 gems out of the event, essentially breaking even. So, pretty nice record so far. Another snap keep here. We have black and red for the whelp. We've got green for the spinner. Great start to the game with a great ending off Tachova. Playing against a blue-red deck with a turn 2 Haunting Figment. Snare Spinner threatens good blocks here until they cast instant sorceries to make this unblockable. Alright, well, shore me up. Furious Bellow, that's fine too. Again, Snare Spinner's such an inconsequential early game play that we are very, very happy to just trade it off into combat tricks to get those out of the way so those tricks can't be spent to kill important creatures later. I'm not going to be holding up mana for Lightning Strike anytime soon. I guess we'll try to kill this in the end step, see if we can trade for a Shore Up or a Figment. And we trade for a Figment. They might have Essence Scatter here with all that mana up. Only way to play around that is to cast a Shadow Prophecy instead, which doesn't feel great, but I do need to hit more lands here, so it would be not terrible. Yeah. Kind of a no-risk play around Essence Scatter turn, because we've got a good play anyway. Okay, well, we needed more lands, we got more lands. Okay, another tapped land. Now I can't play around Essence Scatter unless I cast absolutely nothing for the turn. And they just didn't have an Essence Scatter, it looks like, so Whelp is going to seek the other Whelp as a 3-2. 2 mana 3/2 flyer in her hand. Ooh, Miria's Outrider. Let's scry one here. Like the Diminished Returner, that's fine. Next turn we're going to be casting Techiova, playing a land, so this turn... empty board state, I mean Outrider seems solid. Although Necromass hits a little harder each time it hits them. It doesn't get that initial impact of the 3 damage. But we could wait a little on Outrider and we might hit a 4th land type and hit even harder. I actually don't love how it tapped there, because now I'm going to activate a Bog, because I like our green sources so much. Although we don't have any more green cards in hand. Well, we could have just activated Forest there. Could hold up Battle Rage Blessing to protect Techiova, but if they tap out to blow up Techiova, we're just hitting them for 6. And playing a Miria's Outrider. The Jaw. Alright, that does not kill a Techiova. No land drop this turn. A little sad. Get that Najal out of the way for future attacks. Drop a Diminished Returner and pass. Soaring Drake. 3 mana up for them still. They are going to battle him to Techiova. We still have that Bog on the board ready to attack, and a Gaia's Might and Miria's Outrider should find lethal this turn, no matter how they block. And I thought that was lethal without Gaia's Might, but I actually miscounted. It's 1 damage off. So I should have Gaia's Mighted, obviously, but we should still be good here. I thought I did the quick maths, but the quick maths were wrong. Alright, they are tapped out. They are dead on board. That is going to be 5 and 2 now in the Alchemy Dominaria United draft. Here we are in round 8. We don't have a green, or sorry, we don't have a black source in this hand, but if I hit any land, I can kick a Sprouting Goblin on 3. And we are on the draw here, so I'm going to keep it. And we did hit a land, and it's the black source. So now we can kick a Sprouting Goblin turn 3 to guarantee we hit our 4th land drop. We hit our 4th already. We're just going to be living the dream mana-wise here. I play that, then I go Forest Goblin. Gibbering Barricade from our opponent. Kick a Sprouting Goblin. Tangled Islet and Lot here. We already have 3 red sources and 2 black sources. Let's get the 3rd green, 2nd blue. Okay, they are stuck on mana here. Kind of like kicking a Darrygaz's Whelp. I may just run out a Magnagoth Sentry first to play around Essence Scatter. We do not have Essence Scatter. You have a Leyline Binding. Alright, that's very okay. Got rid of a Leyline Binding on just a 4/4 instead of a Techiova or a Darrygaz's Whelp or something. Okay, they are tapped out of Essence Scatter mana. Let's kick a Whelp. Play a tapped land and pass. Returner is going to hit us hard here. Hits us for 4 down to 16. They do have all their mana up now again. Excuse me. So I have the mana to play a Snare Spinner and an Eerie Soul Tender. But I only have the mana to play 1 black spell. And I think I want to play Soul Tender so I can trade into Returner and slow it down. So I don't think I'm actually playing the secondary Darrygaz's Whelp right now. mean, I suppose I can double block with Sprouting Goblin Snare Spinner on the returner, and they only kill the Sprouting Goblin. And I'm never going to want to sacrifice lands to it because I have a Tachioba coming up. That's actually fine. Yeah, we'll play Whelp and Snare Spinner here. Unkicked Derrygaz's Whelp. And the Snare Spinner. Sengir Connoisseur, that is a big flyer. It's going to be a 4-4. Be a 4-4 if I go for blocks here, so I guess I take it for now. So that my Whelps can still put in work. And my Tachioba. Yeah, the fact that now if a creature dies, the Connoisseur is a 4-4 is pretty bad for me. That seems like a fine way to tap. I don't think I want to tap the black source though. But I'm just going to play one black card this turn, just a Soul Tender. Yeah, this is fine. Good enough for Arena. Okay, I don't have any other blue cards in the deck. We'll activate the Island. Hit for 6 here if they don't block, or if they do block, and 9 if they don't. And if they do block, obviously I'm trading into the Sengir Connoisseur, which feels pretty good. Flowstone Infusion, so that they can make the Connoisseur a 4-4, then go for blocks. Sack a land to draw a card here. Don't think that's worth it. Yep, that's pretty disgusting. The only card they could have had there that would have done that. Very surprised they killed the Goblin and not a Derrygaz's Whelp. Actually. Yeah, that could have been a lot worse for us. Yep, now we play Soul Tender and pass. I guess they were playing around like a Gaia's Might from us. But if we had a Gaia's Might, we would have killed Connoisseur anyway. They have full domain for Miria's Outriders here, which means we're probably dead. We're probably just casting a couple Miria's Outriders these next couple turns. They sure are. We're down to 3. We can no longer hit them because they have a big reach creature. I can kick a repossession. Five life here, so I just die if they play another Outrider. If I attack with all 3, I do put them to 6. And then next turn I have 3 flyers again. Don't think I can afford to do that though. Yep, that's what I thought. It's going to be 5 and 3 in today's Dominaria United Alchemy draft. So pretty good record overall. We are going to be up in gyms. We're in the money there. And we got to play some pretty fun stuff. I really, really liked the Alchemy cards we got to play with today. The Diminished Returner was kind of whatever. It wasn't actually the greatest thing ever in this deck, but the Nantuko Slicer, the Wandering Treefolk, and the Derrygaz's Whelps, these cards were all great. Derrygaz's Whelp was kind of like our biggest win condition, just being able to consistently slap down 2 3/2 flyers in multiple games was great. Treefolk was awesome as a card draw engine. And Nantuko Slicer was just ridiculous. picking up a card from each graveyard and putting it into hand. So some really wild, really powerful alchemy cards there for sure in the deck. Other than that, just like basic Jund stuff. If it weren't for the alchemy cards, I'd say this deck looks like a pretty average, like 4-3 style, Jund-ish, Golgari-ish domain deck. So pretty good record for it, 5-3 here. Not gonna be too unhappy about that. That is gonna be 1,600 gems and 4 packs out of the event, leaving the event with more than we started with. But that is going to end today's draft. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more of these videos. In the next coming days, I'll be playing a few more Dominaria United Alchemy Premier drafts. Then we have Streets of New Capenna rebalanced drafts coming onto Arena, where they actually have went through and changed, adjusted a bunch of commons and uncommons from the set for the limited format. So we'll see what that format is like after the rebalances. And then we have Throne of Eldraine Premier drafts coming up later in this month, as well as Crimson Vow Quick drafts. So tons of good variety draft coming. Variety draft content coming to Arena soon. So stay tuned for all of that. And turns out in November, next month, there is actually going to be another limited Arena Open, and that's going to be for the original Dominaria set. It's going to be sealed only, but original Dominaria sealed, so we'll be playing that. So great stuff on the horizon, cool stuff. I'm very pumped for it. I hope you are as well. And once again, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more Magic Arena.